All right. All right. Hopefully, no more people are going to roll in, but given it's just a lonely few of us, yeah, as Aaron said, her and I are going to be sharing the role this year. But obviously, I think both of you and Karen, I did see you coming as well. So I think all of you are fully aware that I'm certainly not new to FTC in Rhode Island. I've been around for it scares me too. 8 years, I think this is probably going to be year number 8. So um, yeah, yeah, we're gonna have fun this season. There's a lot of new changes, a lot of stuff rolling in from first headquarters, and a lot of stuff locally that's gonna be happening as well. So um, we'll get into it. If I can advance the slide, let's see if that'll work. There we go. Um, First has just asked us to remind everybody about what the first core values are. And they are suggesting that if you haven't already, maybe take some time in one of your meetings just to go over these several core values and think about how they might help your season. So, obviously, discovery, innovation, impact, inclusion, teamwork, and fun are the first core values, and those should be the driving factor within your team's meetings, your competitions, your season. So just maybe try to keep those in mind. And if you have a chance, maybe bring them up in your team meetings just to make sure all of your students are on the same page as what the first core values are. So we're going to talk a little bit about the general timeline of how the season is going to go. And I'm going to start off with some of the season dates that are coming from first headquarters because those are really important. And a lot of those have changed within the last year. So um, September 22nd, this I believe is next Monday, the team Q&A is going to open. And if you are not aware of what the team Q&A is, that is the official method of asking game rule questions to the game design committee. Unfortunately, the online forums such as Reddit and things like that, those are extremely helpful, but those are not able to be official forms of getting clarifications on rules. So the official format for getting rule clarification from the game design committee is the Q&A. Information about that is on your first dashboard. You'll get a username and password that is unique to you, that can only be accessed by the team's lead coach 1 and lead coach 2 contacts. And that account will allow you to log into the Q&A system and ask questions directly to the game design committee. You can also view any questions and answers that have been asked by other people on the Q&A. That is publicly available to anybody, but the ability to ask questions is locked behind that username and password that's in your first dashboard account. So that will open September 22nd, which I believe is next Monday. November 17th is an important date. That is when first headquarters is going to calculate what allocation of advancing teams each region is going to get to the first championship. I'm going to spoil a little bit of a secret for you. It's only going to be 2 for us. However, that is the date that we really need to have all teams registered by. So for those of you that maybe haven't registered your teams yet, please do so as soon as possible because we really need to get it in before that date because that's how first calculates advancement. This could potentially affect premier events as well. So we really want people to try to get things in by November 17th. It's unclear as to how they're going to do premier event advancement just yet. We're still waiting on some details from headquarters, but that is the date that we really need you to get your registrations done by. We want you to do it as soon as possible, but at, bare minimum, please try to get it in by November 17th. November 22nd is when our holiday battle scrimmage, which is presented by Team 701 at North Kingstown High School. That will be Saturday, November 22nd. And then a notable change for our qualifiers. I think some of you might be a little confused as to why we're doing qualifiers so early in December. But our first qualifier, which is going to be presented by Team 252 from the Wheeler School, is going to be on December 13th. I'm going to talk a little more about that, I think, in the next slide, because there's a couple of things that I want to bring up as to why you should come to the December qualifier. I know it sounds early, but we'll talk a little bit about that because I think once we talk about it, you're going to be more intrigued as to maybe why that might work better for your team as opposed to one of the later qualifiers. Um, for our qualifier two and our second chance qualifier, those dates are going to be in January. We do not have the dates locked down yet. We're still working on finalizing a few things with our venues. So as soon as we have those dates, we'll reach out in a coach newsletter and let everybody know that those dates have been finalized. We're working on them. We're trying to get them to you as soon as possible. We just have some things that we need to still finalize. So those are coming. February 7th is going to be the state championship. It's presented by the New England Institute of Technology, but we're going to talk a little bit about where States is going to be held this year because States is not going to be held in the same place as it has always been. And we'll talk about that in a couple of slides. For teams that advance to the first championship, March 30th is going to be the day to complete payment and housing registration. Those things have to be done through first, particularly the housing registration for first championship. It's not something they significantly discourage, and I believe there's actually some implications if you attempt to skirt their process a little bit. They're really asking us to drive that point home that trying to skirt the process and get an Airbnb on the side is not really something that they really want people to do. So March 30th is the date for those teams that advance to the first championship to do their payment for the event registration and their housing registration. April 17th is when premier events are going to begin. We're going to, as soon as we have information from first headquarters on how premier event advancement is going to work and what premier events are going to be happening and where they're all going to be, we're going to share that. I will share that the New England premier event is coming back, which will be at the Big E. As soon as we have, the finalized dates for that, we will let you know. But it will be coming back. It will be at the Big E, and we will be having some advancement slots from Rhode Island to be able to attend the New England premier event or any premier event around the world. And there are going to be some new locations as well. So for all I know, anybody that advances to the premier event, maybe you'll want to go to France, maybe you'll want to go somewhere else in Canadian Rockies, or heck, I don't know, maybe you want to go to Indiana. It's all up to you guys if you advance to premier events. But as soon as we have that information for you, when first releases it to us, we'll make sure to get that out to you. First championship this year is going to be April 29th through May 2nd. That's significantly later than it usually has been. So for teams that advance to the first championship, just keep that in mind. It is now extending into May. And then May 2nd, which is the last date of the first championship, is when the first storefront closes. So if you guys have regrants through first that are awarded to you through the first dashboard, those have to be spent by that date, or the grant itself is going to disappear from your first dashboard and you will be unable to use that funding. So I don't anticipate that that's going to be an issue for very many people, because usually those grants are something that you'll want to spend early in the season so you can get your registration done or buy parts. But if for some reason that's still remaining in your account, that would be the last day to do it for this season, is May 2nd. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the Holiday Battle Scrimmage. Like I said, that's going to be held by Team 701, the Gonk Squad from North Kingstown High School. That'll be on the 22nd. Why should you attend the scrimmage? I'm glad you asked. It not only does that allow for an opportunity for your team to experience what a qualifier is going to be like prior to when regular season events begin, but it's really, really helpful for us. And I cannot stress that enough. We use the scrimmage as an opportunity to help train our referees, to help train our inspectors, to help get a flow for how our competition environment is going to run during our regular season for qualifiers and for states. And so it is incredibly helpful when we have teams come to the scrimmage, because we need that as much as you guys need that. So I cannot encourage you enough to register for the Holiday Battle Scrimmage. As soon as we have the registration information for that from Team 701, we will send that out. Of course, it's free. There's no registration cost whatsoever for the scrimmage. it is highly beneficial for you guys and extremely helpful for us. I cannot stress that enough. So if you're able to attend the scrimmage on November 22nd, please do. All right. And then qualifier one, which is again presented by Team 252, the Electric Cohogs out of the Wheeler School in Providence. That will be on Saturday, December 13th. So why December? Why are we making a qualifier significantly earlier than everything else? Not only does that help our volunteers, as most of you know, usually we condense, in the past at least, we've condensed our qualifiers into 1 month, do it all in January. That is really taxing on our volunteers. We're asking them to give up, a day out of their weekend. Some of them come, for Friday night setup too. And it really taxes our volunteers to essentially ask them to take 3 weekends out of the month of January. So if we can spread it out, that is extremely helpful for them. Um, in addition to that, it gives more flexibility for our host venues to sort of schedule around school sports. Obviously, January is a pretty heavy basketball month. So, with most of our events being held in school gyms, trying to spread things out a little bit and maybe get one, in the month of December is extremely helpful. But this is where it kind of is a benefit for you guys is it gives your team more time to reflect, revise, and prepare for the championship. If you attend the December qualifier, you've got it's a little over a month actually. I think it's 6 weeks if I remember correctly to prepare for the championship, which is a lot of time. Um, I can't stress this enough. You don't need a world championship winning robot to compete at a qualifier. I know I've heard a lot in the past from coaches saying we're just not ready. We're just not ready. There's I think a little bit of a misconception sometimes that a qualifier is about having the best robot, or you need to have the best robot to be somebody that can win at a qualifier. And that's really just not the case. In particular, actually, a lot of the time, what our judges are looking for, they're trying to see some progression. And so if they see that, you had a design at a qualifier that at states is significantly improved upon, and there's a lot of lessons that you guys have learned between your qualifier and states, that is really phenomenal for the judges. That's the kind of thing that they want to see. So um don't let the December qualifier date scare you guys. I highly recommend that teams register for the December qualifier. Like I said, it doesn't have to be the world championship winning robot here. It, it gives you guys an opportunity to prepare a little better for the championship instead of maybe doing a qualifier the week before the championship and having a week to scramble to try to get everything together. Gives you a lot more time. So I can't encourage this enough. Please, if you're able to do the December qualifier, it would be super helpful for us if you can register for that. The other qualifiers, qualifier two and the second chance qualifier, those two will be in January. Obviously, the second chance qualifier is the model that we use for um, teams who may not have qualified from qualifier one or qualifier two. It gives them an opportunity to register for another event that gives them an opportunity to advance to the state championship. There's obviously a little less advancement slots at that event compared to the first two, but it is another opportunity. So we are going to be having that event again, obviously, the second chance qualifier. We just don't have the dates for qualifier two and the second chance yet, like I said. So as soon as we have them, we will send those out. There we go. I did have a slide about that. So we'll send it out. We'll put it in the coach newsletter as soon as we have the dates for you. All right. So let's talk a little bit about the championship. The championship is going to be presented by New England Institute of Technology, but it will not be at the New England Tech Automotive Center as it has been for many years. Obviously, I am incredibly grateful to Aaron. Aaron has been doing this for a very long time. Aaron was one of the original delivery partners for the original iteration of First Tech Challenge, which used to be called First Vex Challenge in 2005. And she's been holding this at her venue for that amount of time, and it has been an incredible opportunity for our students. So I can't thank Erin enough for hosting this event for as long as she has, and for working with her school to clear out the automotive center for an entire weekend every year to do an important thing for our students. So where is it going to be this year? I think is the big thing, and obviously, if you've read the slide, it's going to be at North Kingstown High School. Um, why are we making this change is another thing that I think a lot of people are going to be wondering, and we discussed this a little bit at kickoff. Um, First events have operating costs, and so we have to evaluate every season how we make things more cost effective for you guys, um, and to make sure that we can keep costs as low as we possibly can for you. We really don't want to raise costs on any given year because it's already a lot of money for you guys to be able to have a season and build a robot. So we're trying to keep things as cost effective as we possibly can. And one of those things that allows us to do that is evaluate where we can hold events to get the most for our money. So we've been working with North Kingstown High School's administration to secure a suitable venue to host the championship, and we have successfully done that. We will obviously be hosting it at North Kingstown High School. We've reached an agreement with them. um, it, Championship events have some logistical constraints that we have to work around. It's obviously a little bit more than a qualifier because we've got a lot more people and two fields, and there's a lot of things that need to fall into place to make that event run smoothly. So we chose North Kingstown High School because over the years have worked with them, and we recognize that they have the capacity to meet those constraints as well as the ability to work with the external vendors that we use for the state championship, most notably our AV vendor. They have the ability to allow our AV vendor to come in and help, do the production work for that event. So, um, like I said, New England Tech's been a gracious host of this event and the program for over 20 years. So can't thank Aaron enough. Like I said, um, New England Tech's going to have a table there, to talk a little bit about their 60 plus program offerings across 12 different areas of study. This event is still going to be presented by New England Institute of Technology. It'll just be at a different venue. And stay tuned. North Kingstown High School is not the permanent home for the championship. We're looking at options to bring this to other areas of the state. We are essentially using North Kingstown High School as our temporary home just for now until we can find, more venues that are willing to host this event and have the ability to meet those additional logistical constraints that we have to pull off an event at that size. So, um, more to come on in future years of where we might have this event. But for this year, it'll be at North Kingstown High School, and that date will be Saturday, February 27th, or Saturday, February 7th. I apologize, not 27th. It's a little later than it actually is there. Um, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the game. We've talked a little bit about the season, so we're going to talk about what has changed with the DECODE season game. Um, One of the main things that we are bringing up, that we've been asked to bring up by first headquarters, is making sure that all of consent release forms and youth protection screenings and those items have been completed for all of the teams. Um, and I want to talk a little bit about what that looks like on our end and what we need of you guys to make sure that we have everything that we need from you to make sure your team is fully competition eligible. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means. So, on our end, what tells us that your team is ready to compete and is fully eligible to compete within the rules that are set forth in the competition manual is a little identifier that we being me and Aaron can see, called event ready status. When we look at all of the teams that we have currently registered in Rhode Island, we have a little identifier next to your team that says whether or not you're event ready. And in order for your team to be event ready and be eligible to compete in official first events per the competition manual, there's a few things that you need. Two lead coaches need to be associated with the team, and those lead coaches need to be 18 years or older. They need to have signed consent release forms on your first dashboard and a valid youth protection screening through first. Um, in addition to that, all student team members that are going to be competing with the team at the competition need to be registered to that team on the first dashboard. They also need to have all of their consent release forms signed. If the student's 18, they can sign that themselves. If they're not 18, they have to have their parent guardian sign that. And all of those things are done online through the first dashboard. If you log into your first dashboard, there's tutorials within the first dashboard under youth registration that show you how to do all of these things. And I know for veteran coaches, um, this is something that has been incredibly daunting in the past because the first registration system hasn't always been the easiest thing to work with. These things are a little easier this year. We have something new called express registration, and the information on what express registration is within the youth registration section on your first dashboard. Essentially, what that is it's a QR code that you can just give to your students. They scan it, and then it brings them to a little page where they type in all their information, their parents' information, and then it essentially automates that entire process. So you don't have to gather emails and invite those emails and hope that the email shows up in the student's inbox and then, deal with things manually that way. It's a fully automated process now. And that is the default option. There is still the option to invite people by email if you want to do it manually, but the default option is the express registration system that will highly automate the process and make it a little easier to get things done in terms of youth registration for this season. Um, Mentors. Let's talk a little bit about the difference between a coach and a mentor because those things now have been explicitly defined in the competition manual. Um, Lead coaches are the two individuals typically in school environments will see that it's the two teachers that are overseeing the team. For home teams it could be the two parents that are overseeing that team, or they're the main contacts responsible, the ones that are essentially paying the registration fees through first. Those are the lead coaches associated with the team, lead coach one and lead coach two. Mentors are potentially it's in industry mentors that are coming in to work with the team and help them during build season or programming season, or maybe you've got alumni that are going to be coming back and helping with the team. Those are what are considered mentors. Mentors need to be registered at the first dashboard as well. And why that is because particularly if those mentors are over the age of 18, they need to have a valid youth protection screening through first. These rules, again, are not our rules. They're rules that come down from first headquarters, and we're required to make sure that all of our teams are following these regulations because the youth protection screening is incredibly important. Um, Now, in addition to that, like I said, for the other two categories, they also need to have side consent release forms. Um, in addition to the valid youth protection screening, all of those things are through First Dashboard. So it's not that difficult to get all these things done. They're all in one place. If the individual just logs onto their First Dashboard or creates an account on their First Dashboard, um, it will literally prompt them and say, you need to do this. And as long as they don't hit the X button and dismiss it, it'll be right in front of them as soon as they log in. So it's incredibly important that those things get done. And I do have one thing to address as well when it comes to mentors, because I have heard this from multiple teachers saying, oh, well, I already need to go and, get BCIs done for my mentors. And I have school department policies that I need to follow. And why do I need to make them do another screening? Um, I fully recognize that for especially in the school environment, a lot of school departments are requiring that anybody that's working with youth, they need to have a BCI done through Secretary of State's office, or the Attorney General's office. Sorry, but those policies don't meet the requirements through first that we have to enforce. Um, what that means is that if somebody doesn't have the youth protection screening, that will make your team not event ready in our system. And if the team is not event ready in our system, that makes the team not eligible to compete per the competition manual. So I know it's a lot. I know, especially for the individuals that work in schools, it's a lot of stuff that we're asking mentors particularly to have to do, but it's really important that we do those things, and the earlier you can do them the better. Um, just because we have to enforce those things. And I really, really, really don't want to have a conversation with anybody's team at an event explaining to them why we can't let them compete because they don't meet the requirements that are set forth within the competition manual. So it's really important that we get that stuff done. Um, if you have any questions about that, Aaron and I are available. You can email us or call us at any time. We'll happily walk you through something. And if we're unable to walk you through something, then we can also direct you to somebody at first headquarters that is able to assist with whatever issues you might be experiencing with those things that we're required to make sure that you guys are doing for the season. Um, so in addition to all of that, as we've requested in the past at our events, we need a team roster printout from you when you show up at the event. It's something that you'll essentially, first thing you do, you'll be required to hand that in at check-in for the event. And that team roster should show a green check mark for everybody listed on the roster. So that will have your lead coaches listed on it. It'll have all the youth that are associated with the team, any mentors that are associated with the team. If everything is a green check mark, that means everybody's consent release is done. Anybody that needs to do a youth protection screening has done their protection screening. Everything is fully done for the team. You are event ready. That's what we want to see. We really don't want to see any red X's. We really don't want to see anything missing off of those rosters, because that obviously signifies to us that your team might not be event ready and might not meet the requirements in the competition manual. So those things are incredibly important. And how I've been explaining this to coaches is that you can think of this as a permission slip. We really need your help with this. This is your first permission slip. Um, it, Obviously, you can't take students on a field trip without having permission slips from their parents. This is the same thing. We just need this. All of these things are making sure that not only you guys have done this as coaches and mentors, but the students have their consent release either, if they're under 18 with their parents, or if they're over 18, they can sign it themselves. But um, those consent release forms are incredibly important. They are permission slips that essentially allows for them to be competing in first activities. So we need your help with that. You can think of it as your first permission slip, but we really need your help to make sure that all those things are done. And like I said, you can contact Aaron or myself with any questions, or if you need any support with getting these things done prior to your first event of the season. Um, for the scrimmage, because the scrimmage is the earliest event that we are involved in during the season, which is on November 22nd. These things are required for the scrimmage. The scrimmage is considered an official first event because it is registered within the first system. So November 22nd, if you are competing in the scrimmage, those things do need to be done by that time. Preferably you'll get them done as soon as possible, but at bare minimum, if that's the first event that you're going to be competing in, November 22nd is the date that those things have to be done. All right. And I think I talked a little bit about this already. I keep skipping through slides, but um, like I said, green check mark for all the names listed on the roster. If there's not a green check mark, that signifies to us that something is wrong. So, um, and we will talk a little bit more in the coach newsletters about this as well. We'll make sure to link in the coach newsletters. Here's all the resources to help you complete these things, more resources on express invitations. Those tutorials are available in the first dashboard. We will also link them in the coach newsletters so you have all the support that you need. And Aaron and myself are fully available to answer any questions that you might have. Okay, so season resources. I know there's a lot of links on here. This PowerPoint is available on the website on the kickoff page. So all of these links are fully clickable within the PowerPoint. Um, they are extremely helpful. And I want to highlight particularly at the top where it says ftc.game. ftc.game is an actual website that you can go to. And what that does, it's essentially just a shortened link that brings you to any game and season resource for DECODE. Competition manuals up there, any things like the practice scoring calculator, which is actually super helpful for potentially running practice matches. It also has a built-in timer, so if you are running practice matches and you need a match timer, you can get that on the scoring calculator, as well as just any other resources, things like playing field CAD, if you need to import that into a CAD model, or other playing field resources like playing field resources, starter bot stuff, team volunteer and event resources are going to be up there as well. All of that can be accessed through ftc.game. It's one link that'll get you to anything, anything that you possibly need. The game animation is linked through there as well. So um, that one in particular is the one that I want to highlight, ftc.game. That's sort of the place to go for everything. All right, so competition manual, structure and updates. Um, Competition manual is broken down into sections which are mostly self-contained. Not everybody needs to review every section, but the team as a whole is responsible to know and understand the rules. And we are talking about that for a particular reason, and it's that um, we have had instances of the past where teams have shown up at inspection, and maybe the students that are showing up at inspection, when the robot might not meet a specific inspection category, they're saying, oh well, I didn't know that was a rule. um, Obviously, like we said, not everyone needs to review every section, but the team as a whole is responsible to know and understand the rules. That applies at any point, during the event, when it comes to inspection, when it comes to during the match itself. I would hope that your team's drivers and drive coach and human player know the rules, but um, that's why we're saying that the team as a whole is responsible to know and understand the rules, especially too when you're in the question box. Um, I, it's highly encouraged when you're in the question box that you even bring a printout of the competition manual or the game Q&A with you. Mike Daly, who's our head referee, um, I I have yet to hear any students tell me that they're scared of him. Mike is a very hard guy to be afraid of, um, but he is extremely reasonable when it comes to students bringing the documentation with them to the question box to justify why they think that something might have been scored incorrectly, or why they think that's a particular rule was or was not violated. He's is incredibly reasonable and amendable when it comes to that stuff. So the team as a whole needs to know and understand the rules. And those rules and updates, we'll talk a little bit about team updates in a following slide, but the competition manual is a fluid document and does change throughout the season. So, in addition to the team being responsible to know and understand the rules, they also are responsible for making sure that they have the most up to date versions of those rules, and those rule changes come through team updates. They come through modifications to the competition manual. They come through the game Q&A. So the team as a whole just needs to be on top of that. And first is asking us to tell people, um, particularly words in all capital letters have specific meanings. The glossary is incredibly important in the competition manual. If you have not read the glossary, even as a coach, I highly encourage read the glossary, because that defines any possible term that uh, you might hear during the season, you might hear at a competition. You might hear a referee say during a match as a potential rule violation. That's where all of those things are going to be found. Uh, they're not yelling at you in the competition manual when they put things in all caps. It's basically saying this is important. Please read it, and that's where you'd find all the details on that. So these are all the sections in the competition manual. I'm not going to go into each individual one because it is pretty self-explanatory for a lot of these things, but here are the descriptions as to what is in each section. The only one that I will say, section 14 does not apply to Rhode Island. Obviously, we are not we don't use the league format. So section 14 has nothing in it that applies to us, and has nothing in it that will apply during a premier event. But everything else does apply to us, including the first championship stuff that will sort of define what modifications might be made to the game for the first championship specifically. Um, but here are, are the descriptions. And like I said, this PowerPoint is available on the website as well. And these links are all functional, so they will link directly to the sections in the competition manual for each of these. Um, First has something new this year. They have an AI rules assistant that is phenomenal. I have to say it is incredibly cool. I am not particularly an AI person, but I did get to try this out a couple of weeks ago, and it's very interesting. It's been trained very well by the people at first. So this AI chatbot is able to help find answers to rules questions. It's specifically trained on the current version of the competition manual. Every time the competition manual updates, so does the chatbot. So it has the most up to date rules. Uh, Now, this last part is incredibly important. Even though I have said that it is, updates throughout the season with the versions of the competition manual, it's incredibly important that you understand that this is not official. Like I said, the game Q&A is the only official place to ask rule questions and get rule clarification. Um, you are responsible when you're utilizing this chatbot tool to make sure that you review and verify anything that it's telling you, and anything that it does tell you, it cannot be used in official competition as a clarification for a rule. So it can't be used in the question box. I really hope that nobody brings this to the question box, but that is not something that is considered an official clarification for a rule. So please just keep that in mind. It can help you find what you're looking for, but you're still responsible to review and verify what it tells you and back that up with the actual verifiable information in the competition manual. So team updates and team Q&A. As I've said, competition manual is frequently updated throughout the season to improve clarity and intent of rules, also to fix any errors. The people at first who write this, it is not written by AI. It is written by a team of humans, and there are sometimes mistakes. They also do put funny things in there sometimes too. That's how you can tell it's human. When the manual is updated, a team update is published, which shows a summary of those changes. So you'll have the ability to find a quick reference to what has been changed in the competition manual. You won't have to, look at them side by side to figure that out. Adults, and this is important. When I say adults, I mean adults that are 18 and older, are eligible to sign up and get an email notification for all team updates. Um, why it's adult 18 and older, I don't know, but that is important. That is something that has been set by first headquarters. So that is really only accessible to lead coaches and potentially mentors who are over the age of 18. They are able to sign up for these email notifications. The team updates are linked on the FTC website, ftc.game. So anybody can access that. Students can access that as well. And that's where they'll be able to get the most recent team update. The email notifications are the only things that are restricted to anybody who's over the age of 18 or 18 and older. Um, as I've said, the team Q&A, that's available to ask questions about anything that teams might think is not already clarified by the rules. I cannot stress this enough, however. At events, the head referee and event director make the final decision based on the competition manual rules. In this particular case, the event director, I know that is an official role through the first registration system. We don't typically utilize that in Rhode Island. That is essentially myself and Aaron when it says event director, but those are the people that are responsible for making the final decision based on what's in the competition manual. It's not something that can be overridden by anyone else. Um, Obviously, for those of you that have been around first for a while, you'll know that we strictly enforce certain things, including no video and things like that, when it comes to clarifications in the question box. So, and that comes down to the head referee and the event director. In this case, me and Aaron are the ones that are responsible through first for making the final decision of any competition manual rules. The team Q&A, um, we highly encourage that students in the question box bring that with them. Point to a specific rule or sometime point to a question within the competition manual or the team Q&A. But those groups of people, the head referee and the event director, are the ones responsible for making the final decision. And as I've said, the team Q&A opens on September 22nd. I believe that's Monday. And that information on how to log in, it's available in your first dashboard. It's also available on ftc.game. And the QR code that I've had up on the screen as well. That's an easy way to sign up for the team updates. I recommend that you do sign up for that because, particularly as we get closer to our competition events, these team updates do clarify rules that will affect Rhode Island. It will affect all regions essentially. It is not always just fixing typos. Sometimes there are some rules that change based on the interpreted intent of certain things. So it's really important that you stay up to date on those team updates. And I highly recommend that you sign up for the emails because that's the easiest way to get them sent straight to you. The team update 00, and this PowerPoint is slightly out of date. This is the same PowerPoint that we used at kickoff. Team update 00 was released the Saturday of kickoff. I believe since then, team update 1 has come out. So I will say that team update 00 is there. It does highlight the major changes that have been made to the manual since last year's Into the Deep competition manual. I think that has been added to with team update 1. So that information can be found at ftc.game. And I highly recommend that you look at it because, in particular, with Team Update 00, it did highlight some changes to the legal illegal parts list. And that is obviously incredibly important for building a robot. So take a look at that. Team Update 0, Team Update 1, those things are incredibly helpful for getting your season started. And team calls. So these are for you. And these team calls, they're not hosted by me and Aaron. They're hosted by First Headquarters. And they cover specific topics from First Tech Challenge experts. We have now what are called global key volunteers, and those global key volunteers cover a wide array of different subject areas. We have our global key head referees, our global key technology volunteers, our global key judge advisors, and those individuals oversee those particular subject matters and are essentially considered the subject matter experts for those areas. They're the ones that host these team calls, and these are the places where you can ask questions to them directly if there's something that you feel you might need clarification on or something that you may want to provide feedback on. This is how you would be able to do that. So the schedule for the calls is here. You can also scan that QR code and get access to the schedule. They're hosted through Teams webinars, and you'll have to register for those. So registration information for that is available through that QR code. And I highly recommend that you take advantage of that because, like I said, that is the most that is the easiest way to get a hold of the people that are key in those particular subject areas. And maybe, if there's a particular item of feedback that you have, they really want to hear from you. As the coaches, they know that you guys are the ones that have to deal with all the rules that are put in places like the competition manual, and you are the ones that are subject to everything when it comes to the events themselves. And so getting feedback from you guys is really important to them. So I highly recommend that you take advantage of these. They're not super, super long, and they're obviously a little later at night, but if you have the ability to take advantage of them, please do. Team avatars. I talked a little bit about these last year, but these team avatars are coming back within the next version of the scoring system. What these are essentially little icons that go next to your team number, not only in the scoring system, but within the FTC events online page that has all of your team's, season information. These images, it's essentially just a little way to personalize, put a little personal team touch on any particular event. We want to see more of these. We saw a few of them in Rhode Island, but not too many. And it's sometimes just a little boring to see the little first logo that's the default team avatar. So if you have the opportunity to do that, it's essentially you just have to put an image in and make it a tiny 50 by 50 icon, and you can upload it through the link that's linked right here on the FTC scoring platform. You can upload your team avatar there. It is subject to approval by First Headquarters. That's something that the FTC team at First Headquarters handles, and they just have to review it for things like copyrighted material. There have been a few instances where there are some things that teams in First might not own the rights to that they are unable to approve when it comes to team logos, so they do have to review them. But that review process is very short. They usually do those on Tuesdays and Thursdays, I believe. So it usually gets approved pretty quickly as soon as you submit them. I cannot recommend this enough. We want to see more personalization, and I hope by the time we have the scrimmage and the first qualifier come around, that every single team on the list has a team avatar, because that's something we want to see. All right. So advancement and judging. Obviously, if you guys saw any of the blog posts throughout the summer, you'll know that there have been some changes to how events advance for this year. Most notably, we are shifting to a points-based advancement model. If anybody's familiar with FRC, you'll probably recognize that this is very similar to the FRC district points model. And that's not a coincidence. There is a committee, I believe it's the Advancement and Ranking Committee, that First has put together to oversee changes and recommendations to modify both the FTC and FRC advancement models. And they've been working really hard on how to bring a different take on advancement to First Tech Challenge. And this is what, through that committee putting their heads together, this is what they have been able to come up with for this season. And I know it's going to be very different, and I know it's going to sound a little scary, but just bear with us on this one, because I personally, having been involved with FTC for as long as I have and being an FTC alum, I do think that this is a net benefit for us within FTC. As scary as it might sound, just bear with us, because once you start reading into the details a little bit, and maybe once we have our first qualifier event for the season, you'll start to catch on a little bit as to why this change might be good. Everything a team does well at an event helps contribute to their advancement points. Teams will be ranked based on the points they earn at an individual event. It is not season cumulative, so it is only tied to the individual event itself. And the points that they earn at that event is what will, at the end of the event, essentially calculate what their place in the advancement order will be. This model rewards well-rounded teams who do well with awards and robot performance. And beyond that, I am going to just say, check out the update blog that came out in July, and that's linked here, as well as in the QR code. The reason why I say that is because there is a lot that went into this decision making, and I'd be lying if I said that I knew how to explain this best to all of you. There is, a mathematical calculation as to how this all works, and that mathematical calculation, equation, and algorithm is all linked within that blog post. There's a whole white paper on specifically the math that goes into this. So if any of your students are very interested in algorithms and things like that, they might get a kick out of that. I personally want absolutely nothing to do with that. I'm not a math person, but if any of you are, then there you go. You can read the equation and algorithm white paper on that blog post. And speaking of math, no math is actually required for us to be able to calculate this. So the scoring system has all of that stuff embedded in it, and it's going to do all the math to see how the points are going to be calculated. They have put a little bit about how the points are calculated within the competition manual in section 4. So that is another place where you might be able to find a little more information on it as to how that works. I know all of this sounds a little complicated and a little convoluted, and I am not necessarily able to give you all the information here. If you read the blog post and you read the competition manual, it's going to tell you everything that you need to know. And just rest easy. The scoring system is going to be able to do all of that for us. It's going to do it automatically. So there's no possibility of anybody messing up this complex mathematical equation at the event, because it's done by a computer. So just keep that in mind. like I said, being an FTC alum, I really think that this is a positive change for us. So just bear with us as this is, the first season that we're going to be dealing with this new model, but I really do think it's a positive change. First championship and premier event opportunities. Um, Also, in that blog post from July, the advancement blog post first announced that the first championship is going to have 336 FTC teams, up from 256 last year. Like I said earlier, shocker, Rhode Island is only going to get 2 advancement slots. That's just based on the number of teams that we have within the state. Um, but there are more teams that are going to be attending the first championship. Premier events are, like I said, premier events are coming back. They're going to be bigger. Several returning premier events, new locations as well. New England premier event is going to be one of them. Um, Information on what the new and returning premier event locations are going to be. That was announced in the game reveal video. I don't know all of them off the top of my head. Obviously, New England is one of them, but there's plenty of other places you can go. If you really want to fly to Europe, you can certainly do that. I think that's going to be in France this year. And that's the one that everybody tells me they want to go to. So that is an option if you would like to go all the way to France. If not, New England is certainly available, and plenty of other ones here in the United States and in other North American countries, I believe, are available as well. And we will send all of that information out to you as soon as we have it. We're still waiting on a few things from First, but as soon as we have those things from First headquarters, we will let you know. We'll put it in a coach newsletter for you. Okay. And just a little more about the premier events. The general process is going to be that a ranked choice list for teams is going to be available within the FTC scoring platform. Essentially, you'll be able to do the ranked choice list that is very similar to how it was done last year for the premier event advancing teams. But it will be in the FTC scoring platform. That is the platform that we handle all event advancement within. So it's going to be a fully self-contained process that isn't going to involve complex manual work on the back end like was required last year. And so that it will allow us to get more information about who's eligible for which events at what point to use sooner. I know it was kind of crunched, and we were giving people information a little late towards the end of the season last season. That will not be the case this year. It's all going to be a fully self-contained process for premier event selection. Um, and teams will be able to indicate if they have sibling teams. If there are sibling teams from Rhode Island that advance to premier events, that is something that you're going to be able to indicate, and that will sort of assist with travel logistics when it comes to selecting premier events. Unfilled spots at premier events, teams can indicate if they would like to attend more than one event. Um, that is fully subject to if there are extra slots. We have been told by First headquarters that they are not anticipating any extra slots this year. They are anticipating that premier events are probably going to be pretty crunched in terms of team numbers. So if there do happen to be extra slots, teams can attend more than one event, but that is entirely based on whether or not there are extra slots. And like I said, First headquarters is not anticipating that there are going to be. They're expecting premier events to be really popular this year. So, um, and last thing that we have, or second to last thing, it looks like awards. So some changes to awards. Formal interviews, just a terminology change. They have not changed in terms of the actual format of what the interviews are going to be, the formal interviews, but they are now called structured interviews. And that's referring to the essentially what you hear us mostly call judging. When we refer to judging, usually we're talking about the judging interview that's at the beginning of the event itself, before competition starts. That is now referred to as structured interviews. Um, we may still here and there refer to it as judging. We may refer to it as, a formal interview just because we are in a transition phase here, but that is the new official term that First wants us to call that. Portfolios. This is a major change because this is something that typically has been later in terms of later on as a date within a particular season. Portfolios may include content from January 1st, 2025 or later. Um, Typically, that has been in May of any given season because the season technically begins in May. This has now been rolled back to January 1st of 2025, and that helps judges and teams better understand what content can be included in the portfolio. It was a little ambiguous before this. January 1st, 2025, anything that is from that date or later can be included in the portfolio. Um, the Motivate Award has been retired. This was announced in a blog post that I believe came in August. Um, it has been replaced with two new awards. The Sustain Award and the Reach Award have replaced the Motivate Award, and the intention behind that is to better celebrate the required and suggested achievements the Motivate Award represented. Um, it it was previously the Motivate Award was very broad in what its interpretation was, and it has now been split out into two separate awards to fully delve down into a team sustainability and eh, team outreach. Um, it's essentially just a more specific way of defining the Motivate Award. And that is what they've done with that award. It's now been split into the Sustain Award and the Reach Award. All non-inspire awards in section 6.3 are given the same number of advancement points. This includes the Judge's Choice Award. The Judge's Choice Award is an optional award. It's not always given, particularly in Rhode Island. It's not always something that is given at every event. And we have rarely given that here in Rhode Island, but it is a possibility. It is up to the judge's discretion as to whether or not that award is given at any particular event. If it is given the same number of advancement points as every other non-inspire award that is listed in section 6.3. So that's just something to keep in mind when it comes to awards. And teams who have won first place Inspire at a qualifying tournament or league tournament, which obviously we don't follow the league model in Rhode Island, can be considered for second or third place Inspire at subsequent qualifying tournaments. I don't think that is going to be something that we have to deal with here in Rhode Island, given the limited number of qualifiers that we have. But they're asking us to announce that. And then teams can only receive one judged award recognition per event. This is another notable change. Obviously, this will affect us in Rhode Island. It does not matter whether it's first, second, or third. For events that do first, second, and third for awards, there are some events based on capacity that may only do first place or first and second for any given award or award category. Regardless, teams can only receive one judged award recognition per event. So let's say a team wins, third place for a particular award in the past, that would have allowed them to win first place for another award. That is no longer the case. The intention behind that is for us to have the ability to celebrate the accomplishments of many teams. Eh, just so that's just another thing to bear in mind when it comes to awards. I know that is a pretty major change from what it has been in the past. But again, the intention is to allow for us to celebrate the accomplishments of many more teams. And that is something that we are actively invested in. We do want to make sure that we are celebrating all of our teams and not limiting it artificially based on necessarily teams' performance with, necessarily high performing teams, if that makes sense. So, with that, I think I just have one more slide. And just talking about Dean's List a little bit. December 15th is the deadline for all Dean's List Award nominations for all regions worldwide. Nominations are currently open. Nominations opened at kickoff. And December 15th is the last day to submit those nominations. So if you have not already, you do have the ability to submit your Dean's List nominations. We just need them in by December 15th. After December 15th, hopefully maybe by November, but at December 15th, at least on that date, we'll have information about when the finalist interviews are going to happen. We are not yet sure whether or not that is going to be tied with the state championship or if it's going to be prior to the state championship. We will announce that, but we just don't have that date for you yet. That is something that will occur after December 15th. And then obviously May 1st, 2026, Dean's List finalists from Rhode Island, the 3 Dean's List finalists will have the opportunity to attend the first championship and compete amongst all of the other Dean's List finalists from all of the regions to win the overall Dean's List winner award at the first championship. That is something that will occur on May 1st, 2026 at the first championship. And this was announced in a blog post over the summer as well. So that can be found at the QR code that's on the side of the screen as well. And that's all I have for this PowerPoint. So I'm going to open the floor up to any questions for the individuals that are here. And for anybody that's watching on the recording, myself and Aaron were fully available. You can send us an email anytime and we'll answer any questions you might have. But I'll open the floor up for the individuals here if you guys have anything.
I just wanted to thank Tom. That's really a lot of information. Lots of changes. We're growing. I think it's important to shake this up and get more teams involved in different ways. And so I want y'all to be thinking about maybe hosting an after school fun thing for other teams to join you, or a scrimmage or a practice play or things like that. So we're hoping that teams are interested in inviting other teams to their schools and things like that, just to kind of create a stronger community. So and I'm sure we're going to continue with coaches Zooms and things like that throughout the season. We're open to topics that you're interested in and concerned about and things like that. So let us hear from you.
So
Big push. Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yep.
Thanks, by the way, for all the information.
Of
But
course.
I was just wondering, what is a premier competition like?
Okay.
What's the point of that?
So last year, First Headquarters came up with what they essentially wanted the ability to send more teams to events that they considered, a post-championship experience. And so they created the concept of premier events. And what those are essentially what they're considering, world's level events, but in different locations around the world. And it gives more teams the opportunity to attend something after their regional championship, to travel to experience other regions and compete with other teams that they might not have the ability to compete with in their home region. It's something that is, at least last year, I don't have the information just yet on what advancement's going to look like this year for premier events, but last year we had our 2 teams that attended the World Championships, and then after that, the next 3 teams on the advancement order list were offered the ability to attend any premier event around the world. I believe there were 12 of them, if I'm not mistaken, in addition to the New England Premier event. But after that as well, with the New England Premier event, we did have the ability to invite the next 3 directly to the New England Premier event only. They didn't have the opportunity to select any around the world, but they did have the opportunity to go to the New England Premier event. I don't have the information on that either as to whether or not that will be continuing. Those numbers are still being worked out by First Headquarters, but at least last year we had the ability to extend some form of premier event invitation to 6 additional teams in addition to the 2 teams that attended the World Championships. Does that answer the question? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. Thanks. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Lots of great information. How does selection of which qualifier, either qualifier 1 or qualifier 2, work for this season?
So as soon as we have all the dates finalized, we'll put together a Google form. It'll likely be a Google form, either a Google or a Microsoft form, depending on what form allows me to do better automation. Um, and that is how we're going to do selection for it. It's going to be caps placed on how however many teams can fit within a particular venue. So I would just bear that in mind, is that we are going to open it all at the same time. That form will open at the same time for everybody, and that will sort of put everybody on a level playing field, given the selections will be capped. Um, I would just bear that in mind, that it's not a guarantee that you're going to be able to get either qualifier 1 or 2, just based on that cap. It's going to be first come first serve when that form opens. But that's how we're going to do it. We'll do it through a form, and everybody will be on an equal playing field to get the same opportunity to select whichever event they want. And then qualifier 3, which is the second chance qualifier, information for that. Obviously, we won't be able to necessarily announce to everybody whether or not they're eligible for the second chance qualifier until we know who didn't qualify from qualifier 1 and qualifier 2. I think what I will try to do for this season is announce as soon as qualifier 1 happens. We'll offer the opportunity to all of the teams that did not advance from qualifier 1, but we will need to leave um, enough slots available to the qualifier 2 teams that do not advance. So that is something that I will have to figure out, but it'll likely be just another form in addition to that for the second chance qualifier.
Thanks.
I can't stress enough. I know it's only a few of us here. I can't stress enough how burning out volunteers doesn't help anybody. And teams and coaches, you're all very, very important to us, but our volunteers are like gold to us. And so we have to balance a lot of that with them. So that's why, and we've tried the December 1 first a few years ago, and some of the teams that participated liked it. I will also say the second chance qualifier is very popular, and it gave the judges through the curveball to the judges, because it was a very different mix of teams, and all of a sudden they were looking at different kinds of things. So I thought it was a really healthy experience for our volunteer judges teams, for the teams. So.
I think related to the judges so I guess I just want to clarify that for the judged awards, if you got like a third place in one award, that means that regardless of what place you get in a given award, there are no other awards that you could win.
That is correct.
Okay. Gotcha. So it's not like if you get a third place in one award, you can't get a second place in another. It is if you get any place. Oh.
Yeah. And I know that's a little weird. The like I said, the intention is to make sure that everyone can be celebrated with the opportunity to win or place for an award. I'm sure that this is something that is going to be highly debated within the first community and maybe brought up in the team calls. So we will continue to monitor this. I preliminarily, I will say that I have seen a lot of chatter about this online. So we'll see where this goes. But at least, as of right now, that is the rule through first, is that teams, when they place anywhere within an award, that is the only award that they can place in.
All right. I think we're good. Yes.
Awesome.
Have a good
Thank
evening,
you very
folks.
much.
Thank you, Tom.
Thanks again.
Thank you guys for coming, for sticking with me, talking for an hour.
Ah,
Of course, great information.
Yeah, we need the information. Thanks.
Of course.
Great. Have a good night.
You too.
Take care.